That's incredible. Like that's like, even when I had a nothing like what you experienced, but we visited South Sudan and Nairobi. Now Nairobi was, compared to South Sudan at the time when we went, I think was 2012 or 2013, something like that. And I think South Sudan was going through a civil war, and it was really bad out there at that time. But just to even see the difference between South Sudan and then getting to Nairobi, Kenya,
Yeah.
like South Sudan, like they showed us the hotel, of course, and it was, the picture was nothing like when you get there at all. But just to see, I mean, we were in, at least in a hotel, we had shelter, and even though it was like trailers and it was like crazy, I think, yeah, I didn't take a shower at all in South Sudan. I didn't take a shower till we got to Kenya, because it was just like, either shower with the bugs, or you just like, what are you gonna
Look,
do?
my toilet was a hole in the ground when I was in medical school. It was a hole in the ground.
When
Um, you couldn't even fully shut the door because the door didn't reach the ground, and so the bush rats will come because my room was right by the bush. The bush rats would just come in and they would just stop and they would just watch you, while you're doing your thing in the toilet, and then you try to shoo them away in the middle of what you're doing. And look, it was another level, So now, when I'm having dinner at the White House, um, at the invitation of President and Mrs. Obama, and I'm there, all I'm thinking is I'm thinking back to those days. I'm thinking back to those experiences, and I'm realizing, my God, how blessed my life has been.
Absolutely. That's how I look back, and I think like that experience was a great one for me. As a kid, I was older by that time. I would think I was 16 or 17, but I, as a kid, you grow up, you don't think anything about life, especially American kids. We don't think too much about life. We have this suburban life. Everything's good. Our parents pay for and do whatever, and we really take for granted what we have, and what opportunities are available for us in America, and just all over the world, just being able to live that suburban middle class life compared to what people in third world countries are going to. And then me being able to see that, I think it kind of shaped a lot of how I think now. Like, I have really big goals and really big dreams, and I think people may mistake them as selfish goals and dreams, because I sit and tell people all the time I want to be a billionaire, but not because I really want $1 billion. I want to be a billionaire because I look at Jeff Bezos and I think, wow, what if I had that? How much more that I could do for this world, because I don't need it. I'm never going to be able to spend it. It's not necessary. I could live in the house that I live in right now for the rest of my life and be okay. But there's so many other people who aren't okay that deserve a shot that I have. And so it's sort of it's interesting, and I feel like I wish everybody could have some of those experiences, so that it really shapes you and helps you become this human being. I
You
feel
got
like a lot of us are running around not human. We're like running around like we're machines, and we're doing and going, and it's all about the hustle bustle, the money and the this, but you don't take time to appreciate and see what's actually happening in the world today.
it. But I also have to say that one of the things that I've learned, especially from my time in medical school in Africa, was that sometimes when you're dealing with your biological needs, um, food, when you need
Right.
food and shelter, and even just mental tranquility, even just peace in your mind, just to have breathing space in your mind
Right.
from all the trauma.
Right.
When you're at that biological space, where you're just surviving, whether physically, emotionally, or mentally.
Right.
It don't have to be an average. It could be just some kid who's so traumatized by what his mom has gone through, or what his dad has gone through, or what he's seen in the hood. He's so traumatized by that he's just trying to get through those thoughts every day and
Right.
get through that post-traumatic stress every day, get through that pain every day. And there are others that just trying to figure out how they're going to put food on their kids' table.
Right.
So when you're in the state where you're dealing with these biological needs, it's very difficult to have dreams or
Right.
higher order expectations, or you even the fact that you want to be a billionaire is a beautiful thing, because you can even aspire for that,
Right.
because you're in a mental position
So they
where
want
you
more.
can actually start imagining that.
Right.
But a lot of people are so bogged down in this quagmire of despair that they can't even see beyond what they're dealing with to be able to say, I want to be this. They just want to make it till tomorrow.
Right.
And that's the place that those are the types of people that I think we really need our help.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because I think exactly what you're saying. It's like when you watch you see people in the projects and in low income housing. It's like some of them have never been out of that county that they're in, let alone the state. Like they all they know is there. They've never seen more. They don't know more because they can't even afford to. They have to go to work, come home, go to work.
They don't know if they're going to be jacked up on the street by the police, or maybe they owe someone money, or maybe
Right.
they ran drugs for someone and they made a mistake and they don't know if they're going to get jacked up. But there are 1,000 reasons
Right.
why they are living in such fear and anxiety. And it's hard to dream when you're in that state of mind.
Absolutely. So now I want to move on to something that you're very passionate about, stroke health and all your stroke research that you do. I was reading a couple of, well, not reading, but I was watching a couple of YouTube videos that you did with New York Presbyterian about stroke health and your hip hop stroke program. I really thought that was cool. And I know you do a lot with hip hop public health and incorporating hip hop to educate. And
Your dad's a member of Hip Hop Public Health.
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, he's one of my lieutenants. You know, he's one of my main. I go to him whenever I need a general to help me, like, create a new space in the war or another battle. I put your dad to I call him up. I said, look, man, look, we got this situation with COVID. I need you, my brother, and he's always on it. And that's a good man. And you're blessed to have a father like him, because he has a sense of purpose and a sense of duty. And for him, it's look, man, we don't pay him anything. We don't even have the money to pay him and Dee what they deserve to be paid. That's not why they're doing it. They're doing it because of the mission, because they know that what I'm trying to do is bigger than all of us. And we're just trying to uplift folks who less fortunate than us. And so I'm just blessed to have people like your dad around me who share the mission, and who, whenever I make that call, they're ready to jump. And that's what I was saying to you about a sense of duty and a sense of giving back to the community. Because I think, the Bible says that it is twice blessed to give than to receive. And no matter what faith you come from, whether it's Islam or Judaism or Buddhism, no matter what spiritual domain you belong to, that is a universal theme. Absolutely. That he who gives is actually the recipient of the greater gifts than he who's actually receiving.
Absolutely.
And I've lived my life around giving. Your dad has lived his life around giving. Dee has lived his life around giving. And I think that if we all cultivate that spirit of giving, the gifts that we will receive might not be financial gifts, but you know what makes your dad even happier than any money anybody can give him? Watching you grow up to be the man you are now. Watching you do the things that you're doing with what you're doing now, interviewing people, trying to make people's lives better, trying to help create opportunities for people. I guarantee you that gives your dad more joy than even if I gave him $1 billion. Because $1 billion doesn't make a son like you. It's love and care and mentoring that makes a son like you.
Absolutely. I would 100% agree. I don't know if he might take the $1 billion though. I don't know. He might.
Well, if I gave him a choice, I don't know what he would take.
Oh man, that's awesome though. Yeah. So, what sort of got you into stroke research? Like, what made you pick stroke research? I know you're a neurologist, and
it's the disparities. Stroke kills African Americans 2 to 3 times more than whites. And what was even more upsetting to me is that the rate of stroke is almost 4 times higher among blacks, that within the ages of like 30 and 45. So it hits young people at much higher rates. And I was seeing that when I was at Harlem Hospital. I was seeing 25-year-olds coming with strokes.
Wow.
You know, I was seeing 30-year-olds coming with strokes, and I was like, this is not, I can't just watch this.
Right.
I
Right.
can't sit back and watch it and wait for it to come to me in the hospital. I have to go out to the community and deal with it in the community. And that's really what started all this.
Amazing. So the hip hop stroke program, how did you, I know you're at Fast Company's 100 most creative people and the Roots 100's most influential blacks in America. So where was the thought process to put hip hop with teaching kids about stroke health and stroke warning signs and all of that?
Well, I mean, I think it's just it was just down to you know, the need, right? I mean, I as a public health person, I knew that we needed something special, innovative. We needed something penetrative. We needed something that would resonate with young people. You know, I can go out to the black community and to the youth, to the projects, the housing, and I could put a podium on every street corner and I could talk about, you know, what you need to do, how you need to live, how you need to behave, what are the warning signs of stroke. I can stand on every street corner in Harlem and do it every day, and they're just gonna walk past me thinking I'm crazy. But if I have Dougie put it in a rap, put it in a song, if I put a video with that, people are gonna watch and
Right.
people are gonna listen. And hopefully we can teach them something that they can use in their lives through that experience. And so I felt that public health needed hip hop. And because death rates were so high in the black community, I also knew, including in hip hop, I
Right.
also knew that hip hop needed health. And so hip hop needs health and health needs hip hop. That's how we had hip hop public health.
Amazing. So what with hip hop public health? I know you guys just did the 20-second Dougie video, and I know you guys had some stuff you were doing with Michelle Obama and the White House when they were our amazing presidents in running our country the right way. Um, so can you just speak a little bit about that and some of the programs and stuff you implemented and have
Yeah,
been?
we've done a lot of great things through the generosity of our artists. And You know, we started with stroke. We created a lot of tools, hip hop public health resources for stroke. We moved on to childhood obesity. Actually, Dee did an incredible video and song about exercise, about finding your anaerobic threshold called Hip Hop Feet a long, long time ago.
I think I was there for that. I think when they recorded with Artie in the
Yes,
Super
that's
Studio
right.
in Jersey.
That's
Yeah.
right. Hip Hop Feet. Yeah. So and so we had that song. That was actually part of the Songs for a Healthy America album. We created some incredible music with Chuck. And then I started working with the White House. I'm a very good friends. I was very good friends with the executive director of Let's Move, who ran Mrs. Obama's program. His name was Sam Cass, and we struck up a really dear friendship. And I think he respected the work that we did on the ground in Harlem, and I certainly respected the what Let's Move was doing and the potential to even be bigger than it was at the time. And so, you know, the collaboration really began when we did the Let's Move anthem with Dougie, and we did the Let's Move anthem, and then one thing led to another, and then we thought it might be a good idea to do a whole album called Songs for a Healthier America. So we put some artists together. We had an incredible group of artists ranging from DMC to Ariana Grande and Jordan Sparks. We even had Travis Barker on there, Mattis Yahoo.
Amazing.
We had Ashanti. We had all kinds of artists. We had some country singers on there. We had some
Country
reggae
thing,
singers
right?
on there.
Right. That's
Uh,
amazing.
it was a multi-genre type of album that we put together. And for the First Lady's Let's Move initiative, it was actually done through one of her other organizations called Partnership for Healthy America. And so we put the album together, and We released it on iTunes. We made some music videos with it. Then we took a lot of that content and then we repurposed it into curriculums, health and wellness curriculums for schools across the country. Um, and um, and we're still using a lot of that content today in different programs that are going on in school systems today. We've created additional content since. I think one of the things that we realized was that this formula actually works.
Yep.
I did some clinical research on these. I did some real rigorous research studies that were funded by the NIH to show that this approach of hip hop and health was effective.
Right.
We published a lot of papers on it, and I think that it now became accepted that this way of this model that we had created was not only viable, was a potentially very promising approach for dealing with the issues surrounding low health literacy and challenging health behaviors in communities of color.
That's amazing. I think that I listened to some of the album though, so it's very dope. By the way, I never been able to
Thank you.
say that, but the album is very incredible. And I think you're absolutely right. I think with hip hop being the #1 genre in the world, especially now, it's the perfect time to use it for good. Now I want to move into just talking about the brain because I wanted to be a neurologist myself. I just didn't. Once
Not
I
too
got
late.
It's never too late. It's never too late. I went to a medical program and then my hands aren't the sturdiest. So I couldn't do neurosurgery, which is what I really wanted to do. It's something about neurosurgery and just like the brain that I'm really interested in. Even my company, I call it Genius. And then I have like a brain logo. It's like, so I'm really just interested and intrigued in just brain health and stuff like that. So what I wanted to talk to you about a little bit was just your brain and like ways that we can stimulate our minds while we're home and just ways to keep a healthy brain and how to keep your brain healthy. Because I don't think that's something we talk about heart health and lung health. We don't
Exercise. I think the first thing is to try to develop. You need to develop to develop increased levels of fitness. Exercise is the great invigorator of the body. That's not me. That's what Jefferson said. But I've actually seen that in action.
Right.
We know that physical activity, exercise, actually has a protective effect on in terms of reducing the relative risk of dementia, Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
We know exercise reduces the risk of stroke and improves vascular health. Exercise really helps you retain knowledge. It helps you with memory and learning and attention. Exercise is just an incredible tool. So I think the first thing is to recognize the physical things that you can do to sharpen your mind, and exercise is number one. Number two, I think, is good nutrition. I think it's important to eat. If you don't eat the right, the brain is at most efficient when you feed it with the right nutrients, with the right foods, and so recognizing the relationship between our exercise and the food we eat with how our brain functions is also very important. And if we really want to optimize the functioning of our brains, we need to make sure that we exercise well and we eat healthy and nutritious food. And then the third thing is to make sure that you exercise your mind, right? We've talked about exercising your body.
Right. Yep.
And we've talked about feeding your mind, but what about exercising your mind? The mind is like a muscle, right?
Yep.
If I go to the gym and I'm, lifting weights, I'm going to grow muscle. I'm going to be stronger and I'm going to be, more flexible and stronger. If I don't, and I never exercise, my muscles are going to waste away and they're going to be weak and they're going to be not as effective.
Right.
It's the same with the brain cell. The brain cell needs to be exercised. But the question is, how do you exercise your brain cell? The way you exercise your brain cell is by seeking knowledge.
Right.
Which means reading and empowering yourself with knowledge, learning new things. You have to constantly be learning something new.
Yes.
And something positive, and something transformative. And you need to make sure you also challenge your brain. The way you challenge yourself when you're doing, press ups and you're going to go, I'm going to do 5 more push-ups. is the same way. You have to challenge your brain, and you have to say to yourself, I'm going to learn this new thing, and you're going to keep trying and trying until you've mastered it. Try to master new knowledge, master new content. If it's learning a language, you master it. If it's learning about how stocks and bonds and finance works on Wall Street, you get all the books and you master it. If it's learning how to create a beat, you get all the expertise around you. You read up on it and you master it. It's all about mastery. Malcolm Gladwell talked about 10,000 hours, and how the reasons why one of the common themes across all geniuses, whether it's Mozart or whether it's Michael Jackson, or whether is John Lennon, what binds up all of them is the amount of hours that they put in to their craft. And that's not just physical hours. When you're creating, it's the mental hours.
Right.
Imagine how many mental hours that they put into that craft, and imagine how they grew their mental capacity, how they grew their cognitive strength. And so it's critically important to recognize the relationship between the amount of mental activity and mental exercise, the relationship between learning,
yep,
and cognitive capacity, and sharpness, and empowerment, and as well as these other things that we like, exercise and nutrition, that we use to sustain the stamina required to complete the mastery process for these activities. And so it's not rocket science. It's hard work.
Right, exactly. And I love what you just said about the 10,000 hours, because that's a common thing that like me and my friends talk about, because everybody always talks about 10,000 hours and you got to put in your work and your time and your effort. But I think a serious misconception of 10,000 hours is that it only has to do with putting in the work, or where some kids feel like, I went to school, I graduated, I got this degree, I should get this job, or I should get this whatever. And I put in my work, and I'm like, that's like part of it, but that's not
even part of it. That's just the baseline, right?
Right.
That's
no, right.
Right. You gotta graduate, go to college. You gotta do these things as baseline.
Right.
The 10,000 hours is with regards to the pursuit of your dream.
Right.
You're putting that 10,000 hours right now in this show that you've created.
Right.
You're putting in the preparation behind the show. You're reading up on what I've been doing. You're studying, you're preparing, you're looking at other interview formats. You're creating your background. You're working. You're putting in hours and hours into your dream.
Right.
It's not the graduating. That's not the time we're talking about. It's the time that these individuals spend on building their dream.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, we have debates so many times, and I'm like, well, I get it, but I feel exactly what you're saying. The experience is that 10,000 hours. I feel like that experience, I can gain all the knowledge in the world, but if I never put it to the test, I'm just smart. I just know a lot of things that I've never used or put work in or effort into 100%. So now I want to move on to my last topic with you, which I'm gonna go back to hip hop, because I know you are a hip hop lover yourself. Outside of educating everybody through hip hop, as a music lover, hip hop is your genre of choice. So what got you into hip hop? What was that first song or artist that got you into hip hop music?
Well, it's interesting, because when I was in England, I think it was I can't remember, it was the mid 80s. I was going through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I used to listen to a lot of white music. I was growing up in London, so I would listen to The Cure, and
right.
I would, I would listen to a lot of different, like, Leonard Cohen and Dire Straits, Jesus and the Mary Chain,
all great bands, all
the
great
Police. I loved that music back then, and they're great music.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember this white kid from South End. He came into my room, and I think I was listening to, I think it was "Boys Don't Cry" or something by The Cure. And he came into my room. He goes, "Look, man, let me let me play you some real music." And he put in a cassette, and it was the LL's album "I Can't Live Without My Radio."
Oh wow!
And he put in a cassette, and he played that album for me. And when he finished playing it, I was like, this is crazy. I've never heard anything like this before.
Right.
You know, remember it was I Can't Live Without My Radio, Dear Yvette. You remember that album?
Yep.
Like a
Dear Yvette,
classic album.
I need a beat was
I
on.
Need a Beat, yeah. And so I heard that, and I literally, when I finished listening to that album, I couldn't even move. I felt like the Holy Spirit just came down on me.
Right. No, right.
And it was crazy. It was crazy. And then that's how I got into hip hop. And then I actually started listening more and more to hip hop. And then I started listening to Run DMC.
Right.
And I remember, I think it was in '86.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the exact year, but I remember DMC were doing a tour with the Beastie Boys, and they were coming down to the Brixton Academy in London.
Yep, it was 86.
86. They were doing a show in Brixton Academy in London, and I remember because I discovered hip hop. I was feeling it. I loved it, and I said I have to experience it live.
Oh,
I have to experience it live. That was next on my list. And so my very first hip hop concert was at Brixton Academy, Run DMC, Beastie Boys.
Wow.
And look, man, when D came on and he did his thing, Run came on and they did his thing, they did that thing together. It was like a religious experience. You know, it was a religious experience. I couldn't believe it. And that was it. That was it. From then on, it was over. It was like, this is my genre. And then I've just become a big hip hop fan ever since my youth.
That's amazing. That's crazy. So LL was the first introduction, and then you get to see Run DMC and Beasties. Like, I see them now. Like, I get to see Run and D perform now, and the energy is crazy now. But every time someone tells us from back then,
Brixton Academy in '86.
That's insane. That's crazy. Legendary. That's epic. Yeah. So who's in your top 5 then? Who's your like top 5 favorite rappers?
Well, I mean, honestly, that's a really difficult question. I'm gonna name a few, but I think I like them all equally.
Okay, that's fair.
So I like Nas a lot.
Yep.
There's something about his style. There's something about his intellect.
Mm-hmm.
The way he tells a story, I think it's second to none. You know, I mean, I was just listening to New York State of Mind just the other day.
That's a great track.
And Halftime, and I was just listening to the way he constructs his sentences, the images, the metaphors,
right,
and the depths of his lyrics. And so Nas has to be up there for me. Okay. And then look, I also love Wu-Tang. You know, I think, and they're all very, very talented in their own right. But when they came together, and when they came together, oh my God!
It's a force to the second way. It's like the Avengers, like the
Avengers. Exactly. That they're on another level. So I love Wu-Tang. I have to say, I also love there's an artist called Guru from Gang Starr.
Yeah, 100%. RP to Guru.
Oh my God! Look, Guru for me has to be in my top 5. He's an incredible artist. And then I gotta have Mobb Deep in there.
Oh wow! You know? Yeah.
I gotta have Mobb Deep in there. I mean, how can I not have Mobb Deep in there?
You got the great picks right now.
Oh my God! I mean, Mobb Deep. I mean, I still listen to Mobb Deep almost every day.
Wow.
You know, and they're so raw, and they capture the pain of the streets. They capture the anger.
Right.
They there's just something so raw and real about Mobb Deep. So for me, they have to be there. And it's interesting that, you know, as much as I love Biggie and Tupac, they don't make my top 5. They just don't.
I respect that.
I love them, and I got all their albums, but for me, they just don't make it. And I would have to say, the coming in at number 5 for me is a joint number 5.
Okay. Okay.
It's Run DMC,
Okay.
and I cannot leave out Lottie Dottie. Um, I mean, I think that that song. I mean, that's the only reason why I put Dougie at that joint number in that top 5 with the
Right.
joint category.
Mm-hmm.
It's because once in a while a song is born
Right.
that changes everything. It's just that song just changed everything. It just like, what are we listening to?
Right.
What is this? You know. So Lottie, and the thing, one thing about Run DMC that I loved, for me, it's probably because of that first experience that I had in Brixton Academy. You know, when your first
Yeah.
introduction to hip hop
Is that?
is that, then they have to be in your top
Yeah.
5.
There's nothing. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I go back, you know, look, I mean, I still know all their lyrics. You know, I was at an event in Florida, Tampa, with DMC, and we were in the bathroom together, and I started rhyming his lyrics. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
started rapping his song because I that is what really helped me through my tough times when I was coming through in England, and even when I was in Nigeria. Sometimes I just turn to hip hop when I'm going through stuff, and there's just something that, and there's something about what it does to me. It gives me, sometimes it gives me the rage that I need to get through my depression.
Right.
Sometimes it gives me the calm I need in a storm, and sometimes it gives me the motivation I need to believe in myself.
Absolutely.
And but one thing hip hop never done for me, which is what has always been missing for me in hip hop, is that it's never made me cry. Right? I go to other genres for that,
Right.
but for the fire I need to get through life, for the light I need to get through darkness, hip hop has always been there for me.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. You actually have a great point. Hip hop doesn't. I don't think there's a hip hop song I've ever cried to, or when I'm crying, I listen to any hip hop. It just doesn't go together because it just picks you up. It's a pick me up.
Picks you up.
100%. Now, is there any artist that you would like to work with hip hop public health that you may haven't at all? You have a wish list at all?
Nas.
Nas?
Yeah, I need to work with Nas.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
I like that.
definitely.
If I get Nas on Contain Convos, I'm sure tell him he got to come check you.
You got to. He's the one person that I mean, honestly, I'm so blessed, to be honest with you. The fact that we can work with D, and we can work with Chuck, we can work with Dougie. I mean, how many organizations can work? And I've been working with them for almost 10 years, you know, and we've built a relationship, and I'm just so blessed to have them in my life. But if there's one other artist that I'd really love to work with, it has to be Nas. I mean, he's the poet of rap.
Wow.
You know, he's our Shakespeare. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's a good one. Look, you gonna get it. He might watch this by accident and be like, "You called me Shakespeare. I'm coming to work with you tonight." That's amazing. No, but you're saying it exactly right. He is, and I think the ability to tell story. Only other storyteller in hip hop that I like is Slick Rick, because I think just
Yeah, Slick was incredible too.
him and
Yeah,
Dougie, a
yeah.
lot of
Uncle Ricky.
yeah, like that's
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't
he was
beat
incredible.
that. Absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, Doc. I'm so grateful for all of your time and all of your information, man. It's incredible what you've been doing, and to have this time with you and talk was amazing.
Anytime. All right.
Awesome.
Take it easy. My regards to your dad.
Awesome. I definitely tell him.
All right. Bye-bye.